Selamat sejahtera dan selamat sepupu. Sepupus, if you're Malaysian, then May 13 would ring a bell in your hearts, in your minds, or in your soul. But probably not just for the reasons that you imagine or know. As of right now,
approximately 85% of
all the people who live in Malaysia right now were born after May 13, 1969. So I think most of us don't really know about exactly what happened. We just know that there were riots, Malay against Chinese, Chinese against Malay. The sort of thing that you hear only as shadows and whispers from the second, third, fourth hand, because nobody ever wants to talk about it. I mean, I'm not surprised, right? Because it was a really tortured part of Malaysian history. According to the NOC report, there were 196 dead, 439 injured, while the foreign diplomats believe that apparently it was closer to 800 people. Now, if you don't know what the actual narrative was, the official position is that basically it was 1969, election came, the opposition won,
DAP and Gerakan won, they showed off, and they had no permit.
And suddenly, boom! Riots, killing, never again, let's bring in the NEP and all sorts of policies to make things right and make Ketuanan Melayu a real thing. Now, I say official narrative here to differentiate it from the question of what actually happened. Because what actually happened is not something that I have access to. I wasn't born on May 13, 1969. I wasn't there to see it, and like pretty much everyone else, I think I heard about it only from teachers, adults, little fragmentary pieces of information out there. Mostly because every time people try to talk about it, the government goes like zip. Don't talk about it, shut up, no go. But then that raises an important question. What if someone wants to exploit that history? History is a very powerful force, and people like Saoirse Kante know this very well. This is the dude that I saw posting a full-on twisted history of May 13 on the Past PN Seluruh Malaysia group. Literally, just look at what he had to say. May 13, riots 1969. First sentence, on the 13th of May 1969, there was a racial riot that caused the loss of life, injuries, a loss of confidence, and the destruction of property. This tragedy had a direct link to the results of the 1969 general election, an increase in the influence of Chinese chauvinist parties, and the loss of the two-thirds majority of the alliance in the DUN Selangor. Wow. Starting off nicely right there. First thing this guy was talking about was literally a Chinese chauvinist party. It's funny because I don't necessarily dispute that that is possible, but then look at what this guy goes on to say. Before May 1969, many Chinese people were part of the Communist Party of Malaya and were trying to set up a communist republic in Malaya. What? I don't know what this guy is on, but like, this is obviously an attempt, right? To make people associate Chinese people with being communist. Next thing you know, you've got all of these different historical dates, but what you need to notice is this. There are no citations. Basically, all of this post right here is literally just a dude casually writing things out, right? To suit a very specific narrative, but it's not backed up by any credible source. Not a researcher, not a university, nothing. And when you get to the second page, third page, and so on, things don't get very much better. I mean, like, just look at this. Literally, you have all these statements like Melayu balik kampung, Melayu sekarang tak ada kuasa lagi, here and there, Mara buto, Mara tundun, repeated all over again with no attribution. The story with Dato' Harun talking about how Chinese rioters attacked the Malay gang, pushing this story that somehow it was the Chinese that were the aggressors, and we don't need to think about anything else. Before later, it talks about how, oh, there was a victory parade and these people were mocking the Malays, insulting the Malays, and this nice red part right here literally just highlights ada yang mencaci dan meludah dari atas lori ke arah orang Melayu di tepi-tepi jalan, again with no attribution. But here's the kicker, last image, the lie of Lim Kit Siang, where whoever this person is, they're just casually talking about how Lim Kit Siang is one of the dalang of May 13, asked about why he was under ISA detention and why he didn't sue the government, painting him and DAP as the #1 problem of all the Malays and all of Malaysia's racial harmony problems. Wow. Bruh. Now, I want to write this off as the ravings of a crazy person, but if you look at it, that was actually an organized narrative. Like, it was actually formatted, they emphasized the parts that were designed to make people angry at a specific race.
And is, I think, extremely manipulative and harmful towards racial harmony in Malaysia.
I'm sure that people have different memories and different accounts of history, right? But like, when it comes to something as sensitive as May 13, right? If you really want people to just remember what happened and you want people to actually learn lessons, then why are you going out there and then just coming out with this propaganda to make people angry, to make people have negative feelings and emotions while sharing your poison out there? Caught in this fever dream that somehow DAP wants to take over your rights, take over your land, chase you out of the city. All of the Chinese were communists. No discussion of the police, the military, anything else along the way. Look, I get it. Like, this is past TN. You want to actually play politics, I understand. But why are you going out there and manipulating the very worst incident of violence in the entirety of the country just to suit your stupid, selfish needs? You want to win an election, you want your party to succeed, okay, fine. But this is not just campaigning. This is literally turning the races against one another on the basis of shaky evidence, no citations, and no actual intent of a historical reconciliation. And all I can say is, this is actually deplorable, and whoever created this should be reported, arrested live on national television or on social media. They should be dragged out of the hole that they are living in so that they cannot release this kind of fitna. If you say you want to remember history so that you can avoid it happening over again, you want to have a national conversation, maybe you want to get people to start talking about the OSA so that we can actually find out what happened. But if you're literally not going to consider any evidence, like even the declassified documents, like the ones that Dr. Kwa Kia Song actually went and got from the Public Records Office, then maybe you can justify a discussion. Otherwise, maybe there's no point in actually inflaming racial tensions in a situation where there are already lots of these divisions in society. But this Saoir's person, I have no idea how to pronounce that, is literally just coming out and then trying to create enmity between people for no good reason whatsoever, claiming that he wants people to learn history kind of thing, maybe so that some other random so-called YB is going to hint at dark times ahead if anybody so much as introduces an anti-racial discrimination law. Bro, I don't know what this person really has to gain from this, or like how he actually expects to move forward right here, because like, what exactly do you want people to do? You want them to hate Chinese people? You want them to so-called claim justice and then go out there and then start distrusting every single Chinese person that you see out there? Look, the fact is, right, that even if for some reason or another your account was true and then people actually hated one another from the bottom of their hearts, you want to move in the direction, right, of actually being well with people out there and not dealing with your dilemma inferiority complex just because you want people to so-called bersatu and then you decide to do so on the basis of hatred. When I look at something like this, I think of it as something super dangerous because frankly speaking, you can say that people like me or any of you out there who are watching this video are educated enough to actually defend against it, but the fact is that people can actually end up believing this narrative, and then when they believe this narrative, they internalize it, they pass it on to the next generation, and they share it with their friends across don't know how many WhatsApp, Telegram, Instagram, whatever groups out there. It is only going to breed hatred from generation to generation when these people weren't even there, didn't even experience these events, and literally want to go out there and create trouble just because they have a backer or because somehow they feel that the future of this country is mono-ethnic, throw away diversity, the Malays must rule. Look, I don't necessarily think that people need to remember May 13. If the next generation can grow up in peace and happiness without any of these discussions, behave well with one another, experience the goodness of life, then there really isn't a need to bring up old wounds in the first place. But if there are people out there who are malicious, who want to spread evil narratives like this just to create tensions between people, then it's something that we actually need to have an honest conversation about. Malaysian society is already divided enough, even without trolls and people who want to just take our national harmony and throw it into the dustbin, and it's a disgrace to watch. So Malaysians, we're basically under attack, and it's very nice to just think that you can just ignore it, but I don't personally think so. Because when you're attacked, that's a time when you actually need to stand up and you need to defend yourself. Because otherwise, people are going to just casually break us apart for no reason at all, create fear amongst us, because that's all part of their grand plan. Well, if they want to start up this conversation and otherwise, then it's our duty to also start up that conversation as well, so that they don't control the plot. It's time for an honest conversation about May 13 and actually what can be revealed. I think that we have hidden this story for long enough. It will surely be hidden for even longer if the OSA is used to keep those documents under wraps. But now 55 years have come and gone ever since those tense days, that painful history. I encourage the government to actually share the real record of what did happen and what didn't happen, and to finally bury the historical hatchet once and for all, so that people cannot manipulate us along the way. I think that it can be a wonderful opportunity for a national reconciliation in our lifetime, and not to have it just be something that we talk about as we talk about Malaysia, truly Asia, but we walk on eggshells because we don't want to offend one another and disrupt this harmony that is actually just us avoiding one another and never actually talking about anything important because we are scared of one another and scared of what we're going to find along the way. Alright, and that's all I have to say about that, and bye.